What if I told you that one of the most notorious criminals in American history had a story that few have heard? Prepare yourself as we dive deep into the disturbing psyche of Jeffrey Dahmer, a man haunted by his troubled past. My name is Nick, and welcome to Homicide Harbor, where we explore the minds of some of history's most notorious serial killers. And today, we will uncover the psychological issues that plague Dahmer and their origins from his tumultuous life. Before we begin, if you are interested in deciphering the psychological aspects that drive serial killers to commit horrific crimes, please leave a like and subscribe so we can notify you of future videos. Now, let's set sail. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From an early age, Dahmer showed signs of abnormal behavior, such as the fascination with dead animals. This fascination most likely originated from his father, a scientist who believed his son was taking an interest in biology when Dahmer brought and collected dead animals. Funnily enough, Dahmer's father later taught him how to bleach and preserve the bones, the same techniques he would later employ to attempt to preserve his human victims. He allegedly liked to cut open live fish to see their insides and strangle some neighborhood animals. Neighbors found other animals impaled on or staked to trees. Growing up in a seemingly ordinary family, Dahmer's early years were marked by frequent moves due to his father's job as a scientist. The lack of a stable environment made it impossible for him to build relationships and friendships early on. This constant disruption took a toll on young Jeffrey, leading to his isolation from society as a whole, and even from his own parents, who seemed more focused on figuring out their relationship than on the clear impact it had on their son. Dahmer started first grade while his father Lionel was often away studying. At home, his mother, a hypochondriac with depression, required constant attention and spent most of her time in bed. In one instance, her depression led her to a failed attempt of ending her own life using Equinol. When asked about his childhood, he remembered feeling unsure about his family's stability and witnessed frequent arguments between his parents. Dahmer was once a happy and cheerful child, but had become quiet and aloof. At school, some teachers noted that he had become shy and showed very clear signs of abandonment. As Dahmer entered adolescence, his inner struggles intensified. He battled a relentless urge to control and manipulate his surroundings, feeling an insatiable desire for power. Some psychologists suggest that this desire derived from the helplessness he had felt his entire childhood. He could not control the endless spiral of relocations that his father's job caused. He desperately needed both of his parents to pay more attention to him. He wanted his father to spend more time at home, but couldn't do anything about it. Meanwhile, his mother Joyce was struggling with multiple mental disorders simultaneously herself, and couldn't devote much time to young Dahmer either. From his freshman year, Dahmer was seen as an outcast. At the age of 14, he started drinking beer and hard alcohol throughout the day. He often kept his liquor in the jacket he wore to school. One classmate in particular asked him why Dahmer was drinking scotch. Dahmer responded that this was his medicine. In later interviews, he explained that his fantasies of control had developed into something far more sinister, and alcohol was the only thing that kept him from snapping. As a teenager, Dahmer realized he was gay, but kept it secret from his parents. He had a very short relationship with another teenage boy, but what truly interested him was controlling another male completely, even if it was against their own will. When he was about 16, Dahmer developed a fantasy of rendering unconscious a specific male jogger that he found attractive, and then using him to satisfy his needs. On one occasion, Dahmer concealed himself in bushes with a baseball bat to lie in wait for this man. However, luckily, the jogger did not pass by on that particular day. Dahmer later admitted that this was his first attempt to attack and submit someone to his desires. After multiple attempts to save their marriage and attending marriage counseling, Dahmer's father found out his wife had cheated on him, moved out of the house into a motel, and they decided to divorce. In May 1978, a teacher reported seeing Dahmer sitting in a parking lot with multiple cans of beer. He threatened to inform the authorities about it, but Dahmer claimed he was experiencing a lot of problems at home and that the school counselor was aware of it. That same year, Dahmer's mother took Dahmer's younger brother David and moved to Wisconsin, leaving now 18-year-old Dahmer in a house all by himself. Now, surrounded by his never-ending fantasies with nobody to watch over him, Dahmer was a ticking time bomb. Just 3 weeks after his graduation, Dahmer committed his first crime after luring a hitchhiker to his house in order to catch a few beers. After sharing some drinks, the hitchhiker decided he wanted to leave. This infuriated Dahmer, and he assaulted him with a dumbbell. He later dissected, dismembered, and treated the remains with bleach, similar to how his father had shown him during his own childhood. Within a span of 13 years, Dahmer killed another 16 victims, in each case increasing his sadistic tendencies. After each new victim, he developed new fantasies that he desired to fulfill. The most gruesome one related to cannibalism and necrophilia. The killing spree ended in 1991 when one of his victims, Tracy Edwards, escaped. He promised Dahmer he wouldn't leave and would stay with him in order to calm Dahmer's urge to kill him. He requested to go to the bathroom, punched his captor, and ran out of the front door with one of his hands still handcuffed. Edwards stopped 2 police officers on duty who tried to open the cuffs and then followed him to the house where he had been trapped for around 5 hours. Upon inspection of the house's bedroom, officers found Polaroid pictures of body parts and victims that had been taken in that very bedroom that they were standing in. They arrested him and discovered even more horrors in the kitchen, including skulls and stored body parts of previous victims. Tracy Edwards quoted in his testimony that after Dahmer had managed to handcuff him, he lay on his chest and muttered a sentence: "I will eat your heart." After his arrest, Dahmer waived his right to an attorney and confessed to the majority of his murders after 60 hours of interrogation. Dahmer's trial began on January 30th, 1992. He was tried in Milwaukee for the 15 counts of first-degree murder. Dahmer was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 10 years for the first 2 counts. The remaining 13 counts carried a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment, plus 70 years. The death penalty was not an option to consider at the penalty phase, as Wisconsin had abolished capital punishments in 1853. In 1994, Dahmer and 2 fellow inmates left their cells to conduct work. After just 20 minutes in the gym showers, Dahmer was found on the floor of the showers with severe head injuries. He had been assaulted with a metal bar and repeatedly struck against the wall, but surprisingly was still alive. He was taken to hospital but succumbed to his injuries just 1 hour later. Post-mortem, Dahmer's behavioral patterns were even further analyzed to give us an idea of the possible disorders that he may have suffered from, along with their origin. The first one is, of course, borderline personality disorder. Similar to Chikatilo, Dahmer struggled forming relationships with others, even during his formative years, and was known to be extremely impulsive, even more so when not under the influence of alcohol. The second disorder was schizotypal personality disorder, which includes a cluster of disorders in one, such as paranoia, social anxiety, and psychosis. Additionally, the person struggles to interpret other people's emotions and feels like they just can't trust anyone around them. Dahmer's childhood made him believe that nobody was truly on his side, as a result of his parents' disregard for his existence. Although not entirely a result of his childhood, the condition can be aggravated in situations of stress and instability, which Dahmer unfortunately had on a daily basis. The third disorder that Dahmer is supposed to have had is psychotic disorder. It is also a collective disorder, which is used to describe how an individual loses touch with reality, leading to delusional thoughts and a loss of perception on what is real and what is not. Dahmer's fantasies were already present during his adolescent years. His substance abuse was his way of suppressing them, but at the same time provoking even further detachment from reality. In many serial killer cases, the term psychopath seems to be easily thrown around senselessly. As horrific as the crimes he has committed may be, Dahmer was in fact not a psychopath for multiple reasons. The first one is empathy. He did not actually want his victims to feel pain, which is why he often resorted to drugging them or rendering them unconscious before killing them. The second reason is remorse. After his arrest, he confessed and cooperated fully with the authorities in finding his victims, while not asking for any type of leniency during his trial. The third reason was his need for a loving relationship. He admitted in many of his interviews that the motive for his murders was often very simply the desire to have somebody by his side who wouldn't leave him, possibly originating from the intermittent absence of his parents during his childhood. The fourth reason is meaningful relationship. And surprisingly, and in spite of his difficult upbringing, Dahmer was still very close to his parents and genuinely cared about them. Moreover, he felt shame for his crimes and often asked psychiatrists to find out what was wrong with him. These are all traits that do not comply with psychopathy, which in broader terms is the lack of any type of emotional response, empathy, and very poor or none understanding of good and bad behaviors. This was the tale of Jeffrey Dahmer, a once happy and cheerful child who developed disorders that were further exacerbated as a result of his upbringing and led him to commit crimes that seem incomprehensible to any normal human being, and that modern-day America cannot forget nor erase. As always, thank you for watching. My name is Nick, and this is Homicide Harbor. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe so we can notify you of the future episodes.